So you'll notice the poor quality on this image, hopefully. Everyone, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a reason for that, and hopefully it'll become clear. So firstly, thank you all for joining this Cloud Management User Group Meetup for July. We said in a couple of the tweets that we've put out recently that we have 2 announcements to make. So the first one is sort of on this screen here. So this is the current name of the group, and essentially we are hopefully going to see a video of it transforming into the new name of our group, and we're relaunching this group as the Cloud Management Community. We feel that this more accurately sort of resembles what we are doing here. So we're not just a user group, we're actually a community of people who not only use cloud management, but we're also we're all managed by cloud these days. So it's more of a community, and we're going to be launching a few things in the future. Just watch out for those, really. Lots of good stuff coming. So new logo is that. I like it. Hopefully everyone else does. And the other big announcement is that we finally have a sponsor, and that will be PolicyPack. So essentially they've agreed, and they're happy to sponsor us and allow us to grow with their support. And we're obviously going to be running the quiz that we run at the end of this session every month from now on, because we're able to do that, and they're happy to fund the prize. And the prize at the moment is £25 Amazon gift voucher, or a shop gift voucher that we can send remotely. Or if you, in the future, there might be merchandise and sort of t-shirts and hoodies and all that kind of stuff coming when we get more mature as a group. Community, my bad. Okay, so for the agenda for today, we've got, well, Gerry. Oh, there he is, yeah. Gerry, who is going to talk to us about Azure Virtual Desktop at the start in just a few minutes. And then we've got Sergey, who's going to be talking to us all about Microsoft 365 Defender. Anyone have any questions, or any of the team want to jump in before we hand over to Gerry?
Yeah, I'll jump in, Dean, just to say, yeah, echo what you said. Thanks everyone for joining. We've got some really interesting things coming up in the future, as Dean mentioned. You know, the move to the cloud community that we're doing here is, you know, a commitment that we're going to be putting out lots of more information, newsletters, interviews, and it's exciting times for us. So hopefully you can, you know, join in with us and on the social media that we're, you know, be putting input out. And get involved, and we'd really appreciate that. So thanks again.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so well, let's jump straight in. So Gerry is a multi-year Microsoft MVP. That's more M's than I expected, and is a regular speaker at user group meetings, and essentially can be found in forums answering questions and generally being a nice chap. So today he's going to be talking about Azure Virtual Desktop, but if it's okay with you, Gerry, I'll just hand straight over to you, and you can steal my screen if that's all right.
Oh, shucks. Overall nice chap. I'll take that one. I wasn't called that today by some of the customers, I'll tell you that for nothing.
A very nice chap? Was it a very nice chap?
No. Okay. So, yeah, so let me share. Actually, I can't. Do I need to make me a presenter?
My bad, sorry, yeah. There you go. That was a test, really, just to make sure you can use Teams before you know, present. I failed, obviously.
Right, okay. Yeah, so good luck with the community, guys. That looks really cool. So, yeah, so thanks, Dean, Andy, and the guys for inviting me to present today. I really enjoy attending user group events. It's been a while. I did a lot for WMUG in the past, and it's been a while since we have done anything, but hopefully we can do stuff in person soon. So am I presenting okay? You can see? Yeah.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Azure Virtual Desktop, as it's now known, Windows Virtual Desktop in the past. I just want to show you how cool it is. So I just want to start off by saying that I am not a VDI expert. They're a rare breed. I'm not a Citrix guy. I'm not even an RDS guy. I'm an enterprise client management guy who learned a bit about Azure Virtual Desktop, taught myself, and I know how to get it up and running. You know, moving that into production is a different story. You need to be able to size and scale, but I'm learning that as I go, and I have some tips for in that area. But I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware I am not this VDI guy, right? Just a guy that learned, as we all do. Okay, so Gerry Hampson, I work for Ergo Group based in Dublin. I joined them in 2006 and I'm starting to feel very old. I've been working in enterprise client management for a very long time. Also do a lot of community work, blogging, for example, and speaking at user groups, conferences. Hope actually, I think there are some in-person events opening in the States later this year. So Open 360 Tech Mentor, I think, is in Florida, so I'm hoping to get going to that. So yeah, I really enjoy doing events. Got my first MVP award in 2015 for this community work. I just received my 7th, so long may they continue. You can see details of my blog there and my Twitter contact. Just follow along. I publish tips and tricks and ramblings really as I encountered them in my daily work. There's no real structure to what I do. If I find something interesting, I'll blog it out and see if anybody is interested. So let's crack on. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to start with an overview of AVD. What is it? Why would you use it? I'm old school, so I might interchangeably say Windows Virtual Desktop. Please don't shoot me. It's just the way I am. We're going to talk about the different editions and how the service is put together. We'll discuss technologies like FSLogix and MSIX attach. I just want to show you how cool some of this stuff is, like app masking, FSLogix app masking and Java rules. And finally, we're going to have a quick word about Azure Labs, which is primarily designed for education. It isn't AVD, but it's worth a mention. So I didn't know anything about it until a few months ago, and it just looked kind of cool. So hopefully you'll pick up a few tips. So what problems are we actually solving, and what is Azure Virtual Desktop actually useful for? So the first item that we look at is critical applications. It's all about the apps. That's what I've learned. Desktop is fine, but everything really is about the apps. Now, cloud services like Teams, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, they're very easy to present to users already, as they're already available in the cloud, right? But what about critical applications that aren't in the cloud? They could be on-prem or in a data center environment, or perhaps they're custom developed. We have a lot of customers in the financial sector or legal, and they have a lot of applications that are bespoke. They're not typically in the cloud. So we give them a managed virtual desktop, has the cloud applications available, but also has access to those on-prem and bespoke applications. Also, another reason, so while cloud services are available from anywhere, from any type of device, not all organizations might want any type of device accessing their applications and data. So you might want to manage the interface yourself. So you can give users a managed desktop. It has access to these applications and the data and services in your organization, but in a fully managed way. You dictate the policies on the desktop and how it's used and how it looks and feels and so on. And you can also leverage Microsoft's billions of dollars of investment into security and governance around the platform. Cost is very important, especially during COVID. It's important all the time, but really now. So people have had to work remotely, but they need to work remotely in a productive way. So yeah, great. I can get email on my phone or my tablet, but We have a lot more services and data that we need to access in smarter ways. And a fully provisioned desktop really does that effectively without having to build out expensive Citrix farms and RDS environments. And we can spin this up really quickly in the cloud, and you're up and running, meeting capacity demands. Now, I know there are some prerequisites for this stuff, but I'm going to show you later on how you can actually be up and running in a matter of minutes. Any of you guys using this already? I'm guessing you've all kind of dabbled and played. Nobody's...
Yeah, we've got a recent implementation, Gerry.
Yeah, very good. It is kind of cool, isn't it? It's really cool, and it just does the business. So also, you can consider extending capacity. So let's say you're already using RDS or Citrix, and COVID, like for example, has put a lot more people working remotely. So you need to extend that capacity. Again, it's very simple, very easy to spin up a virtual desktop platform and accommodate that extension to your existing solution. One of the reasons this is really cool, the licensing is very straightforward, and many organizations are already licensed without knowing it. So I come across so many people that are licensed for Microsoft 365, whether it's E3 or A3, which is the education SKU, and they don't know that already includes the Azure Virtual license for you. So you don't need Microsoft 365. You can actually get away with Windows 10 A3 or E3. Obviously, you need to pay for the Azure compute, storage, and network usage on top of that. Now, if you need to use a server operating system, which is a little unusual, that's back to the old days, but I do have one customer like that, then you need, on top of that, you need RDS CAL license with active software assurance. Okay, so Windows 10 experience, and this is the main reason people have flocked to Azure Virtual Desktop. So with previous VDI solutions, you'd either have to use a Windows Server operating system like Windows Server Remote Desktop Services if you wanted multi-session capabilities. And that obviously compromised on the user experience because you'd be signing into a server OS. Or you would have to use Windows 10 single session, which costs more, obviously. Now with Azure Virtual Desktop, you can get both. And as I say, I've done quite a bit of work in this in the last year or so, especially in education. And this is the main thing that attracts people, is the Windows 10 multi-session experience, which is a significant cost saving. So for a single session deployment there, you can see on the left, you'll need one small VM per user, and that usually ends up with low utilization. Then in comparison, you'd get the multi-session deployment. So you have a larger shared VM to support multiple users, equals higher utilization. And of course, the fewer the VMs, the less management, patching itself, etc. And that's lower cost of operation. As a result, then you'd expect the multi-session cost to be a fraction of the single session cost, and you can see the kind of savings that you make there. Now, the important thing to know is that there's no other solution in the marketplace that offers Windows 10 multi-session. You can't even download it and use it on-prem, so you can only get it in Azure Virtual Desktop. That's very important. This is also an important point. So as we know, Windows 7 is no longer supported, and that's a real hassle for a lot of people. A lot of us still have applications that aren't fully supported on Windows 10. Now, those of you that are paying for Windows 7 Extended Security Updates, CSUs, you know they're very, very expensive. Look at the costs here. So year one, which was last year, it was $25 per device, per Windows 7 Enterprise device, and $50 per Pro device. That is actually doubled this year, and will double again next year. So next year, 2022, you'll be paying $200 per Pro device for Windows 7 extended updates. That's a massive cost. So if you move your Windows 7 workloads to WVD or AVD, then you no longer have to pay for these extended security updates. They're included. It's kind of a no-brainer. and you can see the kind of savings that you're going to get per device. A little bit of history. You might have heard some terminology before about the fall edition and the spring edition of Azure Virtual Desktop. The fall edition was late 2019, and the take up of it wasn't marvelous. And one of the main reasons for that, and I hated it too, one of the main reasons for that was that it wasn't fully integrated into Azure. As a matter of fact, it wasn't integrated into Azure at all. It didn't support Azure AD groups, for example, for assignment of host pools. You had to manually configure a list of users. So you like get a CSV list of users and exported that into the configuration. It was a real pain. Also, you couldn't actually manage the host pool in the Azure portal. You had to use PowerShell or configure your own UI, which wasn't very admin friendly way of doing things. So the spring edition went into public preview in April 2020, and now it's cool. It comes with a full ARM integration and it's natively usable in the Azure portal. My favorite bit is that you can now assign host pools to Azure AD groups. Unfortunately, there's no migration solution between the two editions. There are some community tools, but they're not supported by Microsoft. And if somebody had implemented a solution in the fall edition, you'd have to rebuild the host pools in the spring edition, but that's no big deal. I don't have any customers left with the fall edition implementation. We didn't have many to start with. Okay, so let's have a look at the architecture. So on the left-hand side there at the bottom, you can see we've got the types of devices, smartphones, laptops, tablets, whatever device you like, and any really operating system like Android, iOS, Mac OS, Windows. You can also use a web browser to access the virtual desktop services, although we recommend the client app, the remote desktop client app. And we're going to talk about that a little later, but we recommend it for several reasons, but mainly for the Teams optimization support. You get audio and video redirection. Then authentication. So obviously Azure AD is the recommended directory services. You can also implement that in conjunction with ADFS and MFA. You can use Ping or Okta. They're also supported, although I don't have any customers doing that. Then you've got the remote desktop components, the ones we know about from the on-prem world. You've got the web service, the web broker, the gateway, the diagnostic services in the background, and then the session host, the management UI, and all of that is provided to you as part of the platform as a service offering from Microsoft. Critical part of this environment is possibly or probably getting access to your on-prem applications. So in order to do that, we need to establish a secure connection then to your internal environment. You have choices there of site-to-site VPN or Azure Express Route. And in some ways you need, if you don't have a domain controller in Azure, you'll need this for access to your domain controller also, but we're going to discuss that shortly. Okay, so as I said, this is a platform as a service offering. So there's a lot here that Microsoft provide and look after, but there's still responsibility in terms of we as the iPro will manage, whether you're the end customer or a partner like me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys. So as they say, Microsoft secures the cloud, but we need to secure what we put in the cloud. Now, we've already touched on what Microsoft provides. You've got the web access and the gateway to give the external access to the desktop and apps. The diagnostics ensures that everything keeps running as it should. Then the session brokering, that provides the continuity of the sessions. So if for some reason you lost connectivity and you were disconnected, then when you get back in and you reestablish the connectivity, you're redirected back into the live session. You don't get a brand new desktop and lose what you've been working on. And then we have load balancing. So that ensures that you're getting an even distribution and a performance experience for all the users. So all these components are taken care of by the underlying platform. Now, obviously, there's a management of that platform, the back end that we don't think about. Microsoft does that on our behalf. So what do? there's a lot we have to do. So we have to provide the image management and the operating system configuration to meet the specific requirements. So there are a number of ways to deal with that, which we'll discuss in a moment. We need to provide the identity integration. So for example, with Azure AD and leveraging Azure AD Connect to sync from on-prem AD. So we need to do all that. Now, a lot of my customers are already Exchange Online, but if you come across a customer that's not using any of the online services, you will have to stand up Azure AD Connect and get the integration running. So we'll do profile management. We'll talk about FSLogix a little later too. Applications, they're required, so they can be installed on an image or managed by a management tool like our old friend SCCM. And then lastly, the security policies and configurations. So remember that you're going to be moving to a hybrid public environment. You need to pay special attention to security and the security and governance that Microsoft have available on the platform. There's a significant set of services that we need to be looking at. Okay, bit about cool stuff. So Microsoft have done a lot of work to optimize teams in the VDI environment. And as I said before, this is why one of the main reasons we recommend the client app as opposed to the browser. It's for the Teams optimization support. So you can see the graphic on the left. It's really cool. It's also one of the main benefits of Azure Virtual Desktop. And this is that you can separate user profiles and applications from the operating system to improve performance. So what does that mean? So the first one is the user profile. Do you guys remember roaming profiles? I have always hated roaming profiles. They grow in size and out of control, and they have to be saved in a central location somewhere. So when the user signs in, the entire profile has to be copied from that central location to the desktop. It can take ages, and it provides a very poor experience. FSLogix is designed, and FSLogix is marvelous. It's designed to provide a similar kind of functionality in remote computing environments such as this. And it's not just Azure Virtual Desktop. You can use FSLogix in your Citrix environment. So in this case, the profile is stored in an FSLogix container, which is a VHD or a VHDX file, essentially a hard drive, a hard disk. So in this case, the user profile is immediately available. It's dynamically attached to the VM when the user logs in. It just appears like a native user profile. The important part here is that no data is actually copied. The VHD is just mounted. Data is not copied, so the performance and the user experience are first class. And FSLogix have been the industry leader in this space for quite some time. Microsoft purchased FSLogix a few years back, so the technology is now available in Virtual Desktop. I was going to say for free. Nothing's for free. You're already paying for stuff, but there's no additional cost. The other technology here is where you'd be able to separate the applications from the operating system using a new technology called MSIX attach. Now this went GA a few months ago. Again, it's super cool. It allows you to attach MSIX applications as virtual hard disks to the WVD environment, to the virtual machines, rather than installing them on each image. It's a lot less overhead on the operating system, gives you better performance, and clearly it's obviously a lot easier to manage because it's a lot easier to patch and update applications when all you have to do is remove the VHD file and update the VHD file rather than having to update apps that are installed into an operating system. Okay, so obviously the downside of MSIX attach is that you have to have your apps in MSIX format in the first place, but there is an MSIX packaging tool available for that. Now, I haven't done much funky stuff with MSIX app attach yet, but it's on my radar to get it done. Okay, so this is an important benefit to highlight. It's available for free as part of the fast track program that you get with Office 365. It's called App Assure, and it's Microsoft's application compatibility promise. So what's that all about? So essentially, it's a promise to say that they will help you, Microsoft will help you to get an application up and running on Azure Virtual Desktop. So if you have a Windows 10 application, they'll ensure that it runs on Windows 10 in WVD or in the multi-session. And the same thing for Windows 7. If you've got an application now running on Windows 7 and you want to upload those Windows 7 images to Azure Virtual Desktop, Microsoft will work with you to ensure that the apps will work. And this service is provided for free. This is pretty cool. I haven't used it, but I've anecdotal evidence from colleagues that they really do work with you and they will get the applications to work. So it's really worth looking into if you've got any awkward applications. Okay, the management then of session hosts. So Azure Virtual Desktops, they're still just desktops, right, that we have to manage, even if they are cloud-based in Azure. So I always recommend Microsoft Endpoint Manager, Intune, or SCCM to manage the desktops. And Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session is now supported in Config Manager that was starting from 1906. And from 2006, you can choose it as a platform for requirement rules and applicability lists. And it's very easy to configure SCCM to manage multi-session operating system. It's simply a client setting that you have to enable. Also, you can now enroll Azure Virtual Desktop VMs that are hybrid AD joined. You can manage, enroll them in Intune, manage them in the Intune or the MEM admin center in the same way as you do with physical devices. So that allows you to use compliance policies and conditional access. Now, it's important to note that only userless enrollments are supported for now, but there's a roadmap for user-driven enrollments on the way. You can also see, this is the settings catalog in Intune. You can see that Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session is now available as a filter there, and you can see the settings that apply to that platform. Okay, we're getting very close to actually showing you some cool stuff. Just a couple more things I want to talk about. Before you start, if you're worried about performance, you can assess if the experience would be good in your region. There's an experience estimator that Microsoft provides, where you can estimate the connection round trip time from your location through the service to each of the regions in which you're going to deploy virtual machines. So you can see some pretty decent round trips there. UK is the best of all, actually. That looks pretty good. Okay, some prerequisites. Now we're getting into the meat and two veg of this. So the first thing is that you must choose an identity strategy. Now we know we're going to be using Azure AD, but the virtual machines must also be domain joined. Azure AD only support is on the way, but it's not here yet. Right now, the VMs must be domain joined. So you need to organize your networking. So how are you going to configure your networking in Azure so that the virtual machines can access a domain controller? So you're going to need a virtual network and a subnet within that for your hosts. You're then going to need to configure DNS on those on that network so that you can point to a domain controller. So if you've got a domain controller in Azure, happy days. But if you don't, if it's on premise, then you're going to need ExpressRoute or some kind of VPN to the on-prem domain controller so that DNS can find it. And you're going to need a domain join account with permission to join the OU using an OU that you specify. We're going to see how that looks like in the wizard now. And then the VMs. So you need to figure out some stuff about your VMs, a naming convention, first of all. Also, what spec of VMs will you need? Now, I found this the difficult piece because, as I say, I'm not a VDI guy. I kind of said, what does this look like, and increase the size as we go. But there's a science behind that, and the VDI guys will tell you that there's experience behind that. And there are some third-party products that will help you that I've learned about in the past year or so, which I'll tell you about as well. Microsoft, excuse me. Microsoft does give you some guidance based on workloads, medium, heavy workloads, and what size VMs you should be using, but it's very much based on experience. you need to figure out what will be the maximum number of users that can sign into session hosts. And will you use depth mode or breadth mode? So let me explain what that's about. So breadth mode means that user 1 will sign into VM1, user 2 will be assigned to VM2, user 3 to VM3, if you've got 3 hosts, and then user 4 is assigned to VM1. So essentially the user is directed to the host with the least current connections. Depth mode is different. In depth mode, VM1 is filled up before moving to VM2 and VM3, etc. So in this case, the user is directed to the host with the most connections until, of course, it reaches the capacity. All right, and then what about images? So there's a few things you can do here. The easiest thing you can do is just to choose a standard image from the gallery. It's a very basic implementation. You'd get a Windows 10 multi-session with the Microsoft apps. As I say, it's the easiest to configure, but there's a lot more management afterwards. So you're going to configure the host, install the apps, and to be honest, it's no good. Or you could create your own custom image and use that to build the host pools, and that's what we do. We've been doing it for years, haven't we? Build a VM, customize it before capturing the image, and now we can actually do this in Azure. There's a native image capture feature. You create a VM in Azure, you can actually click capture to capture it. It's typically what we do, and I found the hard way that it doesn't always work. There's a problem. So let me give you a tip. I'm sure you guys are aware that when you capture a Windows 10 image on-prem, we normally do Hyper-V, create a Hyper-V VM, install what we need, and then capture it. It's a bit of a nuisance when it gets an internet connection, because when a Windows 10 machine gets an internet connection, it updates store apps, and that can cause a real problem with sysprep. It's a known issue. We've known about it for years, and we get round it in the on-prem solution by just removing the network card from a Hyper-V VM. And that's straightforward. Then we can sign it to the console and we can sysprep and do what we need to do. However, we can't do that in Azure. If we remove the network card, then we can't access the VM. So that's a bit of a nuisance. So what I'll do to take care of that, as soon as I create a VM and before I configure it, I just configure a dummy DNS server on that VM, 1234. So if the DNS it doesn't exist, then it can't get access to the internet, but you can still use IP networking to connect to the VM and capture and do the installs and what you need to do. Okay, just learn that the hard way when you have to recreate VMs and images and whatnot. There's another thing you can consider using Azure Image Builder also for creating images. That went GA recently. And finally, we talked a bit earlier about FS Logics. So the only decision is not whether to use it or not. That's a no-brainer. But the decision has to be made where to host the FS Logics profiles. So there are some choices. Not really choices. There only is one choice, but there are a few options. You can use an SMB file share. So this is just a server virtual machine that you configure maybe in the same subnet as the WVD hosts. It's a bit Mickey Mouse. And if you're doing it that way, the recommendation really is to use a 2-node scale-out file server for redundancy. But as I say, it's a bit Mickey Mouse. You could also use Azure Files, and that's the recommended solution because AD support for Azure Files GA a year ago or so, and that is our recommended solution. There's another one. You can use Azure NetApp Files. It's like an enterprise class, high performance storage, but there's a minimum spend of 4 terabytes associated with that. So it can be out of the reach if you're just starting out, and it could be quite expensive. So Azure Files is the recommended middle of the road way to do this. Okay, they are the prerequisites. So when the prerequisites are in place, it's very straightforward to run through the wizard and create a host pool. 10 minutes, done. The host pool is created and you can sign into the service. They're just Azure VMs joined to the domain. That's all it is really. We'll see that shortly. With some optional steps, you may want to customize the session hosts or install apps or make some configuration changes. That's if you've chosen an image from the gallery. And then finally, you assign the host pool to an Azure AD group of users. Okay, so let's have a quick look then at what that looks like. Okay, just bear with me a second, guys. Okay. Okay, sign into Azure, click on host pools. You go to create a host pool, and we see the kind of questions that we're asked. So we're asked which subscription to use for our host pool. We need to choose a resource group. You need certain permissions in that resource group. Let's give it a name. Okay. Location. So for a long time, there's location of the metadata. So it's like information about the host pool, you know, names, that kind of stuff. It's not data. There's no virtual machines. There's no data stored there. And for a long time, it was only available in the US, but now there are more locations. It's not all the regions yet, but they're getting there. So I'm just going to choose North Europe at the moment because that's my location. What are you guys? You guys North Europe, West Europe?
Be West UK or South UK.
Oh yeah, sorry, you got your own regions. Yeah, of course you do. Oh yeah, I suppose you deserve your own regions. West Europe is Amsterdam, and North Europe is in Dublin. Yeah, so you've got your own there. So I'm going to choose North Europe. Then we get to choose our pool, our host pool. The type of the host pool, two types, personal or pooled. Personal means you get your own desktop. Pooled means you share a Windows 10 multi-session machine. And you'll see that you're told if you select the pool that you still should use FSLogix to you'll be able to personalize and your profile is saved. So we choose pooled. We're going to choose breadth first. I explained earlier what that means. And let's say a maximum of 10 users can access each machine. And we talk about the virtual machines. It seems silly to me to have to say, yes, I want to add virtual machines. Otherwise, what would be the point? But anyway, so we're going to give it a name prefix. So let's call that CMUG. And what that means is that the machines that you create, I'm going to choose 3 machines. So the machines will be called CMUG -0, -1, and -2. You can't change that. That's a built-in setting that you've no control over. Virtual machine location, we leave it where it is. Availability option, no infrastructure redundancy needed. Now, for the image type, so we can choose from the gallery. All right, and that's the easiest thing to do. And we can simply choose Windows 10 multi-session 20HU plus Microsoft 365 apps. Or if you had your own image, you're going to see all images, my items, and this is where you would have captured and prepared an image of your own, a custom image, and you would choose it here. But just for the sake of this now, we're going to choose from the gallery. And then virtual machines. So we can change the size, and we can go in and choose what we want here. Quite often I start with this one, which is a good general purpose machine, D4SV3, which is 4 virtual CPUs and 16 gig of RAM. It's a good one for POCs. So you can see the approximate cost per month of that. So we choose that and we'd select. Number of VMs, let's say 3. I'm not going to continue with this, I just want to show you what it looks like. We choose our SSDs. Standard SSDs is a pretty good option. Premium SSD is better, but there's quite a substantial cost between the two. Standard HDDs is a waste of time, so we'll never choose that. Disable boot diagnostics. Okay, and then we choose our virtual network. We need to have this set up in advance. As I explained before, you need to have your virtual network and your subnet that we're going to put these these hosts, and it needs to be configured for DNS that these VMs, when they start up, can be joined to the domain. Otherwise, the wizard will fail. Okay, we'll choose our subnet. We don't need a network security group. Now, again, it seems like a daft question because they have to be Azure domain joined, as to whether we want to join the domain or not. Now, it's not quite a daft question because it asks you then for your a domain join UPN. So let's configure that first. And then the password. And what happens is, we can leave this the way it is. And what happens is, the wizard will try to join the machines to CMUG.com domain. It chooses the suffix of the domain join account and uses the domain join account to use it. And that's fine if they're one and the same. But of course, two things. I don't like doing that. Plus, I want to choose my OU. This will just put this into the default computers container. We don't want that. That's kind of a bit Mickey Mouse. So I like to choose my domain, and I like to choose the OU. Now, your domain join account must have permissions, or you can delegate control of this OU for this domain join account. And finally, and this came not that long ago, that you can also create a local admin account on the VM. So we'll choose our password here. Okay. Next, workspace. So we'll create a new workspace. Workspace is really where all the information is going to live. It doesn't host data. So you create a new workspace. You can call it CMUG or whatever it is. Tags. It's very important to use tags. People don't, and it's very good for it's very good for costing. If you want, like, who owns what and who has to pay for what. And then review and create. Now, I haven't filled in everything there, so it's failed. I haven't created a workspace. So then you review and create. And what will happen is, within about 7 minutes, I've timed this, whether you create 3 machines or 50 machines, it seems to take pretty much the same time every time. And you'll see in about 6-7 minutes, you'll see the domains, the VMs in the OU. And after about 10 minutes, you will see the wizard finished and you're able to sign in. Okay, so this is one we have created earlier. You see the kind of things you can do here. So we look at the properties of RDP properties, for example, and we can see the different redirections that you can do: microphone redirection, audio redirection. There's hard drive, clipboard, and there's drive redirection, for example. All right, some of the configurations you can do. Application groups then is your way of actually assigning the host pool. You can assign it to an Azure AD group. Okay, and if we look at the session hosts, so I've actually managing this with this particular host group with a thing called Nerdio Manager for Azure Virtual Desktop. This is our kind of demo lab, and the reason one of these is turned off is for cost saving. So we have one machine turned on all the time, and this other machine only gets turned on when it's needed. And if it's turned on when it's needed during the day, it's turned off then at night if it's free. Right, so just a cost-saving way of doing it. You can also do this natively with Azure Automation and Logic apps, but it's nowhere near as performant or as cool as this particular solution. If we look in here, you can see they're all disconnected. I'm disconnected myself, and you can actually choose individual sessions and log them off. That actually was a feature that was eagerly awaited, because in the past, and again, not too distant, not too long ago, you couldn't log off individuals. You'd have to log off all users on a session host, and that was a nightmare if you were just trying to troubleshoot for a single user. If you look, then you can see things like drain mode. So what drain mode means is if you've got you want to do maintenance on this machine and you turn on drain mode, these guys could continue to work, but it wouldn't accept any future connections. And when these guys were finished, you could do your maintenance. Okay, so now that we actually created the host pool, how then do users access the host pool? So there are some options. You can use any HTML5 browser. So the more common browsers are supported: Edge, IE, Safari, Chrome, Firefox. However, we recommend as I said before, we recommend the client app. And we recommend the client app. And there's a few reasons for that. Let's start it up first. This is the client app. You can additional features like I mentioned Teams optimization, which I'm going to show you in a minute when we sign in. But if you look at the settings here, you can get multiple monitor display. Now I've chosen a single display here at the moment just for it's easier to demonstrate. But you could also have all displays or select displays. So I could have a subset of my, if I had 3 displays, I happen to have 3 monitors here. I could choose 1 and 2 and keep 3 for something else. You can't do that if you use a browser, right? The other thing about the browser is, so once you launch, these are just remote apps that I've, demo remote apps. This is my host pool. And once you launch them, a shortcut for these things actually is written into your start menu on Windows 10 automatically. So all that kind of stuff is there. So if I want to start this up, literally, I just have to launch it from here, right? So, and this is then, no, let me launch it. Where you go? Okay. Okay, so just on the remote desktop client. Sorry, is that a question, guys, or are you just talking among yourselves?
No, there is a question. There are a few things coming in, but we didn't want to interrupt your.
Will we do it now, or will we do it at the end? Because we'll finish the demo anyway. We can have a chat then towards the end. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just a few things then about the remote desktop client. So you can get a 32-bit, 64-bit version. You can get apps for Android, iOS, Mac OS as well. So it's all kind of cool, right? Okay, so I've showed you the screens. So on this here then, right, it's very responsive. So it's like my Windows 10 desktop. If I minimize it slightly, it resizes to fit the screen very, very quickly. So it's kind of cool. I'll do it again full screen, and it resizes very, very quickly. So here we have Teams, right? I'm going to turn off my camera for a moment because I want to show you what the Teams looks like. Okay, so on Teams, the optimization in Teams, you can see up, oh no, that's not what I wanted. About version. Okay, you can see in Teams what the version of Teams is, and that it's WVD media optimized. So they haven't got around to changing that to AVD yet, but that's you need to see that, and there's a bit of a procedure to make it WVD optimized. Also, you can see audio and video redirection. So if we look into devices, hello, and you can see my audio is redirected as well. So that's kind of cool, and it works well. It works better than you'd think. So turn the camera back on. Okay, so and this then is where FS Logix is installed. So FS Logix is an agent that actually runs on the virtual machine and is configured in the registry. And one of the settings in the registry is where to put the profiles. So it's VHD locations. So let me show you that. These are like all our lab profiles. And if we look for me, I can get in and I can see my VHD file. But this is secure with NTFS permissions, so I can't get into anybody else and see what they're doing in the way we used to secure home drives in the past. Okay, so that's it. It's like a Windows 10 desktop. You would know that this is multi-session and that there are other people sharing. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is to show you some of the power of FS Logix, which is included for free in your licensing. So I want to talk first of all about app masking. So why would you use app masking? So you would use app masking to hide certain applications in a host pool from specific users. So let's say, guys, how are we doing on time? Am I okay? 10 minutes? Okay, I'm taking it. Right. So we use, if we wanted to hide certain applications, like let's say we wanted the finance user to see the finance app, but nobody else would be able to see it. Now, if we didn't use FS Logix, we'd have to deploy 2 different host pools for that to get around that problem, and it's costly. But now all we need to do is hide the app, and we can use the same host pool. So let's have a look at this demo that I've set up. We've got Adobe Reader and Chrome, and I'm going to hide those both from the desktop and in programs and features. So this is the rule editor. So we're going to say added file new rule. We're going to call the first one Adobe. And we choose from the installed program. So it then interrogates what's on the machine. And we choose Adobe Reader and scan. Now it's finding out all the information it can about Adobe Reader, things like registry and Windows installer, registry settings, files and folders, directories, that kind of stuff. And if we go OK, we'll see all the stuff that it's found out about that and what it needs to hide. The second thing then is to manage the assignment. So I'm for now going to say that this rule applies to everyone on this machine. Apply that and OK. Going to do the same for Chrome. Again, choose Chrome, scan, and OK. Manage the assignment, and that's cool. Now, what has that done? That's given me 4 files. 2 of them are assignment files, and 2 of them are the rules that are actually assigned. We need to take those files and we need to copy them into the folder for the agent. Now you would do this in an automated way in a large environment. But once I copy these in here, these will disappear. And they're also, these 2, they're also gone from here, right? Now they're not uninstalled, they're just not visible. Get them back simply by just deleting the files from here. These come back on their own, and this is the thing. So it's kind of cool, and you can see how that would very much work. One other thing, which is Java rules, which is also kind of cool. This is where Java is a nuisance, so we can't have multiple versions of Java installed on the same machine. How do you force different apps to use different versions? But you can do this with FS Logix Java rules. So we can here, we edit, add, we choose an application. If we say, I don't know, HTTP app 1, right? And what we can do is we can choose the Java version that's actually associated with that application, and we can then add another for the other version of Java. So it's kind of cool. Okay. Right, where are we? Okay. Now, as I said before, POCs are pretty easy. It's worth mentioning transition into production, so it's not so straightforward. Azure Virtual Desktop is still a little immature. There's some gaps in the solution. You know, I mentioned before that logging off single users from the host pool is only recent enough. There's no scale-up support. For example, once you create a host pool, you can't change the VM SKU, so you have to create a new host pool. You do have dynamic scaling supported through Azure Automation and Logic apps, which is only okay. You've now got turn on VM on demand, but there's no create VM on demand, which is a nuisance. There's no single sign-on. You have to sign in both places, especially with the browser. You have to sign into Azure AD and then into your domain. You need a third-party integration for load simulation, which is what I mentioned earlier about knowing what size VMs you need in the first place. That kind of thing. There's no real capacity planning information in the docs. And these are useful and recommended third-party partners that we've seen and we use for Azure Virtual Desktop. In particular, there are three I'd like to draw your attention to here. So we use Login VSI for load simulation. This is how we find out what what size machines we need, because if you're doing a solution for 1,000 machines, you don't want to be finding out on a Monday morning that it's not suitable. You will have wanted to test with a load of 1,000 users. I meant you need to test already that 1,000 users can use that, and you're never going to get 1,000 testers. So Login VSI gives you that you can create 1,000 dummy user sessions and be able to hammer that host pool before the Monday morning. The next is Control Up. We use that for monitoring, for performance, what the host pool is doing. And then finally, I said that we use Nerdio for management. Finally, Azure Labs. It's a different offering from WVD's, worth a mention, primarily designed for education. The difference here is that the VMs, they're not actually created in your VNets. Microsoft take care of all of this in the background, so they have the VNet, they have the virtual machines in their own subscription, and they cross-bill your subscription. You don't manage the VM in your infrastructure. They're not domain joined; they're workgroup VMs, so they're all local accounts. But it does have a scheduling, which is a concept that's missing from Azure Virtual Desktop. So that's me, done. Thank you, guys. What questions are there? And I hope they find that useful.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there was a couple of questions, and they've scrolled away. Actually, one was a comment from a couple of the guys about the Store app. I was wondering if you had any insight into that. So apparently the Store app, the Store version of the Connect app doesn't support device redirection, according to comments, and doesn't support enhanced graphics for Teams and that kind of thing.
Sorry, which app doesn't support it?
The Store app, the Windows Store version of the app, whereas the Win32 version does. Apparently, I'm just reading.
Of Teams.
No, I thought the Remote Connect app, the remote desktop app.
The remote desktop app, the Store app doesn't support. Whereas no, well, I didn't know that, to be honest, but I just always download it and install it from the website. I don't get it from the store. I didn't know it didn't support that now, if I'm honest. And neither is the browser. So you're better off going looking for it, downloading the proper installer, 64-bit installer, and using that.
Yeah, no, I use the Store app as well, and I didn't realize that I was getting a less good experience. So I'll probably switch over to the Win32 then.
Yeah, it is the recommended way. Yeah.
Cool.
I see Anthony Crotty here telling me I set up something. Oh yeah, Anthony's UCC. I remember that. Yeah, very good. With Sean O'Mahony, yes. Thanks for joining. Setting up right now. Good man. Just starting. Okay, see how it does it. I think the Twitter handle in the corner of the slides is out of date.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, should have given you advance warning of that. We have changed the Twitter handle now due to the rebrand.
Right.
There was a question from Carl actually. Do you want to ask that, Carl, or should I just read it out for you about the Gen 1 and Gen 2?
Pardon?
You asked is there
Yeah,
Gen 1 and Gen 2?
Yes, I was just surprised that there are VMs that you can create in Azure with Gen 1 and Gen 2, and but I heard some sorts of stuff that they were using VHD, not VHDX in the past. It's quite weird for people that work with Hyper-V because VHDX has been around for so long time, and also Gen 2 VMs are pretty standard. So I was just surprised to see that there are still Generation 1 VMs in Hyper-V of Hyper-V.
So that was more an entertaining anecdote rather than a question, but yeah, I understand exactly.
No. I had a question, but
yeah.
we sorted it out on the chat. Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Gen 1. People still are using it. But, okay, so yeah, it's Gen 2, and that's correct. Gen 2 in Azure. Okay, hi Katie. Gen 2 in Azure it is reasonably recent that when you just create a VM before it was automatically Gen 1. Yeah, so the virtualization in as I understand it, it's not really my area, but the virtualization in Azure is behind Hyper-V. Is well behind. So okay, what's next? Weird for us Hyper-V people. Yeah, very good.
There was a, do you see other people's sessions in Task Manager? I think you do, but I didn't want to.
Sorry, didn't say that. Say again.
Do you see other people's sessions in Task Manager when we're not on a multi-session?
You do if you're signed in as an administrator, but not as a standard user. No.
Right.
The ADDS CMUG.local is an on-premise or Azure Directory service. It's neither. It's made up. When 32 client app, yeah. So Gerry did not say IE when he named qualified browsers. I kind of did, but it's gone. As I said, I'm old school. Yeah, forgive me. I'm getting old. I forget stuff. I hope not, Dean. Basically, stored apps. Thanks. Store doesn't support, right? I think that's it.
I think that is it. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
If everyone could either come off mute or do whatever you want, just to say thank you to Gerry, because that was a fantastic overview of AVD for me. Really enjoyed that.
No word. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gerry.
Cheers.
Thanks, Gerry.
Cheers, Gerry.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so hopefully Sergey is still around. Thank you for joining so early, Sergey, as well. Yes, you've stolen the screen already. Very well done. Okay, so if we can just hand over to Sergey. I'll let you introduce yourself. It's probably better if you introduce yourself. You know who you are better than I do. So thanks for joining us.
Sure. I saw there's a raise hand, not anymore. So hello everyone. So it's time for the second session. And this session is called Hackers Won't Pass and Microsoft 365 Defender in Action. So what this session is all about, like defend Microsoft 365 Defender in action. So the idea of this session is that we have Microsoft 365 Defender suite of products, and quite often, because I work with customers, and quite often a customer asks me about, wait a second, so we already have some other solutions, like we have Carbon Black, which is EDR solution. We have a different antivirus like Kaspersky or FCQ or whatever. And we already use those solutions. Why should we switch to Defender? Which one is better? Can we just try to compare all of this? And so to for the proof of concept, Microsoft add some scenarios for test purposes, some simulations into Microsoft 365 Defender, especially Defender for endpoint. Let me quickly show you this. When I say to my customers, like, hey, here's the simulations right in the product, they say, hey, those simulations, they are from Microsoft. And of course, simulations from Microsoft will detect everything that, the product, Microsoft product will detect all the things in the simulations. Because, you know, it's like sample virus ICAR, every antivirus in the world will detect ICAR. Because that's a bit artificial. Can we have something else? Can you just create some attack scenario that will test like the solution and show that this solution really works? And so this scenario is going to be like this sample attack. All right, so what this session is all about. In this session, I'm going to show you how typically attackers may compromise the company environment. After this, I'm going to show you what was detected by the product. So it will be more around 70% will be offensive demos, and the rest is the product itself that will detect all of it. It'll catch all of those attacks. All right, so before we start, a few words about me. Who am I? Few words. Once again, my name is Sergey. As you can guess from my name or even from my accent, I'm Russian. I do a lot of things in cybersecurity, usually in ethical hacking. Also, I speak on conferences. I was a speaker at Microsoft headquarters on Tech Mentor conference. I was a speaker at Global Azure multiple times. Security B-sides, Wild West Hacking Fest a month ago. DEF CON, it will be next month, not yet, but DEF CON, I will speak in one of the DEF CON villages. If you want to find me, here's the LinkedIn URL, some of my certifications like MVP and so on. But I think your goal here is not to listen about me, but to know something else about the product. Before I start, I just want to show you one thing I really like. That's the feedback from one of the conferences. And that was my favorite commentary. So that's what you may expect from this session as well. All right, so let's get started. One more thing. I'm absolutely big fan of demos. I don't like slides. I'm not gonna show you a bunch of slides. Most of the time you will see live demos. Generally speaking, I'm gonna show you this slide that's called attack kill chain. And based on this slide, I will jump to demo. So let's get started. And by the way, I will handle your question in the end of the session, so please wait and to ask your question. So what I want you to know, when attackers compromise the company environment, they don't hack the whole company immediately in a few seconds, like you may see that in the movie Ocean's 11 or some other movies. They cannot just hack you in a few seconds. It takes time, and they must take multiple steps before they compromise the whole environment, before they can get the data. And so here you can see the few steps. And the first step is called external recon or reconnaissance, when companies, they just collect information about that target. Usually they collect many things. And one of the things that I'm gonna show here is email addresses, because my attack will be based on phishing. So I'm gonna show you how attackers may collect email addresses. For these purposes, I need to have volunteer. Anyone wants to be volunteer? Anyone? Someone? Oh no, we don't. So what I want I want from you.
Sorry, Sergey, we do have someone did put their hand up there.
Oh really?
Was that
Anthony?
Yeah.
Nice, thanks, Anthony. So what I want from you, I just want to know your email domain of your company, nothing else, just email domain. I don't need your passwords or whatever. Just email domain. I don't even need your specific email address. Just the company domain. UCC.ie. Let's try UCC.ie. University College of Cork. So I'm using a website called Hunter.io, which is like they position themselves like a marketing website, and they collect a bunch of information from everywhere. And of course, attackers may also use that. And look at this. So I can see, oh, I don't know how to say that. Alfie, I guess, Laura, Gary. So many people. And I can find here from which source that information was collected. And so from here, well, let's click here. Coming soon. Oh, thank you. Looks like it was this page. It doesn't work anymore. Anyway, so I can see the source here, Musicology Island. Let's click here. That looks like it was my ad blocker. Oh yeah, thank you. That was my ad blocker. Let's try the browser. Yeah, it is. And here I can see, look at this. So here are email addresses. So this tool collects information from different sources, and have all of this in its database. So when I want to attack some company, I can type this email address, like email domain, and see a bunch of information. If I have paid subscription, I can just export all of this and use that for my next step. And the next step will be something, and in my case, I will compromise the first machine. Of course, by the way, on this tab, external recon, I will gather more information, not just email addresses, but because in my demo, I'm going to use just phishing, so that's why that was enough. Now, I must compromise the first machine, and let me jump to demo again. And I'm going to show you the workstation. On this workstation, I have antivirus McAfee. And this antivirus is just configured by default. So I did not turn anything off. Real-time protection is turned on, no exclusion. So just the default installation, nothing else. I just installed that a few minutes ago, to be fair. And trial ends in 30 days. All right, now what I want to do, I want to open my mailbox. And here I have an email with the file saved today. Come on, save that. All right, so save today. And now look at this. And so it says moon and sixpence and lots of a bunch of text. So why I have all of this text? Because if I just say something like, "Hey, here's your email, here's your attachment," it will be blocked by the filter. But because I have like a more or less normal text, it bypassed the filter. All right, so let me go to downloads. Let me open this save today. And now I have a document here. It says, "Please enable macro. We need to calculate your discount." Now, if I want to enable this, if I want to have a discount, I must click enable content. Before this, what I want to do, I want to open my attacker machine. I want to run my attacker machine. And let me set up listener. Now, let me click enable content. I have the pretty nice discount. At the same time, let's check what I have. Yep, I have a shell. It means that I have a remote access to this machine. Who am I? And I'm a Jada. And let's check host name. That's a Win10 week. And let's take a look. Sysinfo. Oh, all right. Windows 10. Let's do something different. Let's say CD desktop, let's say echo hi. Let's send that to new.txt. Now I don't want to say that. And look at this, so new.txt, so that means I have the remote access. All right, what should I do next? What do you think? So I compromised the first machine. What can I do next? You can share your ideas here via chat, or if you can unmute yourself.
Go ahead.
Come.
Yeah, that was.
Maybe you get more information from Active Directory, because every user has read rights for Active Directory, and it's not intrusive.
Exactly. It will be the next step. But before this, I want to do something else on this here on my compromised machine before I move to the next one. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, maybe securing your access, so you're sure you can get into it every time. So
thanks, Carl. Thanks, Dean. Because I heard that Dean says persistence. Yeah, exactly. So I need persistence. And so there's a number of ways how can I get persistence, because I must have a persistence because you may just reboot the workstation or do something else. So I must have a persistence. You probably know how can I organize that. I can add like a startup, my program to startup, or create a service. What I want to show you is something that you probably haven't heard about. And let me just show you the way that is not well known. So let me go to options of Excel, go to Trust Center, and here I can find what's called trusted locations. Trusted locations. So what trusted location is? Trusted location, that's the location of Excel or Word. We have the same for Word. And so in this location, when you place the document there, there's no need to have a consent from user to run macro. And there's a number of folder where it's called startup. So when you start the application, the document from this folder will also run automatically. And so in user startup has write access for the regular user, for the end user. So if I place the document with my Trojan to this folder, it will start automatically and will run my Trojan as well. Let's try that. Let me close all of this. Oh, sorry. I need a path. Damn it. Excel. Go to options.
It was app data roaming.
Yeah,
Excel.
yeah, it was there, but let me just find that and copy. I think I remember this, but more convenient to just do it like this. Thanks. All right, so I can see empty folder. Now, what I want to do, let me break the shell. I'm going to go to this folder. Let me copy my blank document and place here. All right. Now, I'm going to configure another listener one more time. And now I just want to open Excel, nothing else, just open Excel. Just an Excel and shell. So that's another way to establish persistence. All right, so and now I can jump to what's called internal recon and gather more information about those targets. One of the problems, internal recon or any recon takes a lot of time because I must gather a lot of information if I want to continue my attack. In my case, In my case, I don't have that time to show you all of the information gathering. Information gathering, by the way, is pretty boring, to be fair. You probably want to see exploitation, antivirus evasion, but not really how I get more and more information. So what I can run here, I can run who am I, so I know which user I am. I can run system info. And so it will show me the information about the workstation. I can see the hot fixes. So many things. I can gather. I can check Active Directory groups. Who is the main administrator? I can check my groups. Let's check that. So I'm a regular user, but not administrator at all. Many things I can check here. I just want to skip this step because it's quite tedious and takes a lot of time. And let me just go to the first lateral movement circle. So usually attackers, they may not get what they want on this workstation, and they start to do what's called lateral movement, jump from one workstation to another, and they try to find where they can escalate, where can they get more privileges. And so what I want to do, so my end goal is to become domain admin. But before this, I must become a local admin at least. So I must become a local administrator on one of the workstations or servers. So how to become local admin? There's an article called Windows Elevation of Privileges. Number of articles like this, to be fair. And here we can see number of methods we can try to find out the way to escalate. And the first one, which is the most common that we commonly used in the real pen test, called clear text passwords. Honestly, if you ever try that, anyone try that in the real world? When you try to look for passwords and files on user workstations or their file shares, you will find a lot. Maybe those passwords, they will not be, they will not give you a lot of permissions, but you will find a lot of passwords on user works because users are users. So, and the first method is to try to find passwords in text files and in the registry. Let's try to do that. By the way, output is pretty heavy from this. Thanks, Carl. So output is pretty heavy. So for this purpose, I will switch from shell to the regular CMD because in this shell will just die because of this. Not die, but it will be very slow. So let me just switch to regular CMD. It will be a bit faster. And let me just start to, find str. What the hell? All right. All right. Doesn't work. Let's try. Just a I know what's the problem. I copied the extra stream. All right, so you can see this output is very huge. Now I'm looking for password in files. Just quick spoiler, I will not be able to find anything here. So let's try something else in parallel, because I know we have a limited time. So let me just switch back to the list of those ways to escalate. And so the next one will be incorrect permissions in services. Let me click here. It says, so you may have, so workstations, they may have services that run on behalf of administrator or system, and permissions by developer are not configured correctly. And so what you can do, if permissions are not correct, you can replace the binary, restart the service and get this. And of course, you may place your own binary and restart the service and get system or administrator permissions. And they recommend a number of ways to find that. To be fair, doesn't really work well, for my opinion. I found a better way. Let me show you this. That's what I usually use. So how I usually do it. In the CMD. So what I usually do, I use the script I create myself, and this script will find all the services and show me all these services are not developed by Microsoft. Usually it's not the, because if you show all the services, it will be a very long list. But if you just show the service not by Microsoft, list will be much shorter. And so those services, they potentially may have some vulnerabilities. Let me run the script. And that's it. So now I can see this list. I can see McAfee, Google, all of this will not work, will not help me. Scroll down, and look at this. So now I see the service called Unify Video Service. What is interesting about this service? This service in C program data. What does it mean? Program data, that's the folder which is writable by the end users. And let me show you this real quick. C program data. So let me just create something here. Yep, that's writable by the end user. If I try to open CMD, let me try to open CMD as administrator. No, I'm not an administrator, but as the end user, I can create files there. Of course, as an attacker, I don't really use Explorer, but I'm just showing you this to just show you that it's writable by users. And what may happen? Subfolders, they may inherit permissions from parent folder. And let's try Unify Video. Let's try to create something there. And yes, I can create some files. I can hear some noise, by the way. Don't you mind to mute yourself for this moment? All right, so I can see I can create files in this Unify Video folder. Let's try. So the executable I want to replace called AV service. Let's try to replace that. Let me check if I can rename it. No, I must be an administrator. Doesn't work. Let's try something else. Let's try to find more information about this service. And I can find that there's a vulnerability in this service. And the idea of this vulnerability. Idea is, yes, we have permissions to write. And when you start and stop the service, it tries to load and execute the file at a Unify Video called taskkill.exe. However, this file doesn't exist. Oh, interesting. So that's the mistake of developers. So they forgot to remove some temporary things from the code, and now I can use that. And so if I place taskkill.exe, I can write. So I can just stop or start the service, and it should trigger taskkill with permissions of this service. Of course, it's a specific case. There are a number of ways to escalate. Quite often, it's misconfigurations. The most common is passwords and files. But let me show you this. So how I can do it. I'm going to switch back to CMD because that's much more typical for attackers to use CMD, not the RDP. Now, what I want to do, I want to download this taskkill. It will be my own taskkill, of course. Now I can see there's a taskkill here. Before the shell, before this, I want to establish another listener. And the listener, and let me just stop this service. Normally, users cannot stop the service. For the purpose of the demo, I delegate this specific permission to stop only this service for the sake of time, because normally I must reboot first. It takes time, but you know that any user may reboot the workstation. That's not a problem at all. All right, I'm going to stop this service, and let's cross our fingers. Come on. Oh yeah, let's take a look. Who am I? I'm a local system. All right, so now if I jump back to this slide, I have local. I escalated to local system, and now what I can do, I can try to compromise credentials on this specific workstation. Compromise credentials is fairly straightforward. It's fairly straightforward. Let me jump to this one. For this purpose, we usually use a tool called prosdump. Let me before I show you the tool, let me show you how it may be done. So credentials, they are stored in the process called lsas.exe. So when you log in, this process will authenticate you, but at the same time, it will cache credentials. So what you can do if you are administrator, you may dump this process. But now I don't have a task manager because there is no interface for me. So I will use another tool called prosdump to dump credentials. This tool from Microsoft, by the way. So let me jump back to demo. To here, I must be local system. And now let me download this prosdump. All right, now let me run let me try to dump. And for some reasons, it works. And antivirus did not lock me, but it should. Interesting. Let's check. Let's say I want to do it like this. Oh, damn it, I must have prosdump first. Anyway. I want to show you evasion of antivirus, but it didn't block me. All right, so now I dump lsas. What can I do with this dump next? Next, I can take this dump. I must copy this dump from this target machine to my machine where I don't have antivirus and use a very well-known tool called Mimikatz to open the dump. Let me just show you an example. I already copied this lsas dump on my machine for the sake of time. So let's say I want to use elsa secure LSA mini dump lsas.dmp. So I connect this dump to my Mimikatz, and now let's say secure LSA logon passwords, and it should show me passwords from this dump, at least password hashes. And look at this. So JDO user, there's no actual password, but there is a password hash that is available on this workstation. All right, but I didn't find anyone else, only JDO, just a regular user JDO. Now I know the password hash, maybe it's good for persistence, but I cannot move on with this. So I didn't find anything, any other credentials, so I didn't find anything else. My question to you, what do you think about this? If I'm stuck, if I don't know what to do next as a pen tester or attacker, what they should do, what I should do?
Break something so they call support?
Yes, it's possible to do, by the way. It's one of the ways to escalate. It's one of the methods. That may be used, and so a bit dangerous because, of course, as pen testers, we sometimes do it. And oh, by the way, there's a very nice thing. You can also run the command, and it will just show the password field form, and they'll ask you to type password, and if it just shows like Harry, you must authenticate again and type password, and so users just type password, and you may find their current password. But in general method, if you don't know what to do next, you must go here and gather more information. So when you say install keylogger or do something else, it's all about, you want to explore this environment more, get more information, and maybe you will find something. So generally speaking, I want to check what I missed. Maybe I missed something. So I'm going back to this environment, and what I want to do, I want to use Bloodhound. Let me check, by the way, this antivirus. This antivirus. We'll see now. So next step, antivirus must block. Hopefully it will. And so let's try to do it. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah, finally. Thanks, McAfee. Will it tell me that it was blocked? Hey, McAfee? No. Anyway, it says that it was blocked by antivirus. So let's try to quickly evade antivirus. Once again, this session is not really focused on antivirus evasion. I have a separate session where I show evasion only. But here, let me just quickly deal with that. Fingers crossed. Yep. That was blocked because it tried to block the whole URL, but when I just split it, it didn't catch it. All right, so the tool I use here is called Bloodhound. Let me show you what it is. I'm gonna go to DuckDuckGo and show you Bloodhound AD. So Bloodhound, that's the tool that will gather information from your domain controller, from your domain. And then you may build the graphical or graph relations between entities in your domain. So it will gather a lot of information. Then you'll just import that into your graph application. And then you may understand how this Active Directory works. Let me show you this. Of course, I already pre-configured some output files. So here's my graph application. Let me click Upload Data. And here's the output from Bloodhound. So it tells me about computers, domains, group policies, groups, OUs, and users. Let me open all of this. Almost. Yay. So now, if I go to analysis, I can say find shortest path to domain admins. Oh, what the hell? So if I want to become domain admins, that's all of the ways to become domain admin. That's too complicated for me at this moment. Let's say I know that user Jado is owned by me. Let me mark this user as owned. Mark this user as owned. And now what I want to do, I want to run another analysis, and I want to find the shortest path to domain admins from owned principals. And now it's a bit better. Now I can see the user Jada is administrator on machine called Win10 Help. And Win10 Help has a session of M. Smith. M. Smith is a member of group Help Desk. Help Desk has generic all rights on SQL SVC group, and SQL SVC group, that's quite typical misconfiguration, by the way, is domain administrator. What I can do here, if I'm a Jada, I can connect to this workstation, dump credentials of M. Smith, add someone, and as a help desk member, I can add someone to SQL SVC because I have generic all rights, and then I become the domain admin. Of course, all of this is simulated for the more simple demo. In the real world, of course, usually this path is not that simple, but my goal is to make a demo, fit all of this demo into 1 hour, not to multiple 3-4 hours demo. All right, so let's do it. Let's do it. I'm gonna connect to another workstation called Win10 Help. Also, let me connect to DC. Could you come back for a 4-hour demo? This is amazing. Oh, thanks, Chris. I can come back, but I have some other sessions as well. So thanks for I really appreciate that. Let me jump to Win10 Help, and so let's check who am I here and what do I have. I'm a user called Jado again. But this time, this Jado user is local administrator, not domain admin, no, but just a local administrator. So let's check that. If I try to DR domain controller, no, access denied. So I'm just a local administrator, not domain admin. And now let's simulate let's simulate credentials of msmith. Run the user msmith. Oh, damn it. Msmith. Now, let me check where my msmith. So now credentials in memory. So I also keep in mind on the keep an eye on commentaries from like not security optimized. Exactly. Let's say it's a default. Like, you know, we installed by default. Not at all. It just like what will happen if you use default configurations? That will be the case. Now credentials in memory. What I can do, I can click dump LSAS. Let me do it this time from Task Manager, just to show you the different experience. And now I have LSAS, the same LSAS dump, and then I can open that in the in Mimikatz and find hash there as well. So now let me jump back to slides. Now what I can do, I have credentials of msmith, and this msmith, oh, I think it's better to say that here, msmith is a member of helpdesk. And helpdesk has generic overrides on wait a second, I have credentials of msmith, but there is no password, it's only hash. So I must get access of msmith. I can't just use hash instead of password normally. I must use a tag called pass the hash. The problem of pass the hash, it must be done by a tool called like Mimikatz, and Mimikatz will be blocked by antivirus. Let me show you this. Let me copy Mimikatz to workstation. Come on, block that. McAfee, please kill that. And look at this. So it was, yeah, finally. So that was destroyed by McAfee. Now, what I can do, what do you think? What I can do here? So I want to run. Oh, thank you. Stop the virus. I want to run pass the hash. But the problem is, let me do one more thing, just for the sake of time. I want to run past the hash, but McAfee will block me. What can I do here? Ideas.
There are some in the chat, Sergey.
Let me check. Stop service, admin stop AV. So maybe it's quite it's a number of ways. We can try to kill antivirus. Not always work because nowadays antivirus are protected pretty well. We can try to change Mimikatz file hash. No, it will not work at all because yeah, it works for not very dangerous things, not very dangerous things like change a hash, but not for Mimikatz because Mimikatz is very well known and many antiviruses try to block Mimikatz, so that change hash will not work. By the way, I have a session about evasion, and so you'll see the number of ways how can we evade antivirus. Change hash will be one of them, but for Mimikatz it will not work. So we can try to kill antivirus, but let me try to do something else. Let me try to evade antivirus. For this purpose, I create my own Mimikatz called Ugly Dogs. I believe Mimikatz means like a mini cute cat. So this one is something different. Let me copy this Ugly Dogs. Paste here. By the way, here Defender for endpoint may try to block it, but not immediately. So maybe I will be able to run my attack. Let me run that. Let's run past the hash. Yay. So yeah, look, have you seen that? The Defender for endpoint blocked that. Ugly Dogs is still here. but the command prompt was closed. And here we go. That's my Mimikatz. That's my Mimikatz. And oh, that was killed. But I still have the command prompt with Elevate Access. Let's try to add user to SQL SVC group. No, access denied. Why? Because I don't have generic right. So let me show you the full simulation. If I go to users and group, users and computers. So if I go to security, let me find help. No, there's no help desk here, because periodically I return demo to the initial state. So let me give generic all rights. And now this user can control membership, and for SQL SVC, I mean not the user, but help desk group. And now let's go back. Let's go back. And let's try again. Fingers crossed. Yep. Now I was able to add JDO user to a SQL SVC group. Now let me sign out. Sign back in. And so I should refresh my token. I should get a new ticket. And so it could take some time to rewrite Mimikatz. I haven't seen this specific article, but that's what I did, to be fair. All right, so let's see if I have permissions now. Yay, I can enumerate the shares. I mean, I'm at a C drive on my domain controller, means I'm a domain admin and I can get any information I want. Of course, that was very simplified demo. And like you said, Carl, correct, absolutely correct. This environment is not, how did you say that? It's not a demo security optimized. Of course, that's the goal of this demo, is to show you not the best configurations and to convince you to optimize your environment. Of course.
You missed my point. I said quite the opposite. Out there are a lot of Active Directories that are looking like these, even worse. So, and this is what I said.
Oh, sorry.
If you have small teams and a lot of users, especially I want to point, non-profit organizations and so on, they have a lot of pressure, but IT is not their business. So basically, it's not even their business to have IT, and it's a huge thing for them to keep their things sorted.
I agree. I work with different companies.
Not an invitation though to hack them, but
yeah, I'm not going to.
Pretty much a problem there.
I work with different companies in different parts of the world. I would say some companies they have very strict configurations, and to run pen test there it's almost near impossible. And they have their own red teams, and they know everything that they already fixed many problems. At the same time, a lot of companies, they don't really focus on security. And because I just kept one eye on the chat, and so that's why I missed that point. Thank you. So now I'm finishing the offensive part, but we have still some time, right? And what I want to do, I want to show you how we can protect our company, and then I will handle your questions, and I will look at in more details what you said in the chat. So now we are administrators. What we can do to fix that? And the first thing, do you remember that the entry point was email? Like when user download the attachment and just run something there. So one of the things you can try from Microsoft Defender Suite is called Defender for Office 365. So this one will run attachments in the special sandbox, and the machine learning will analyze what this attachment will do. Not just analyze the attachment itself, but what attachment will do. And what I want to do, I want to give you some insights about this Defender for Office 365 because Microsoft positioned that as like a black box. So what I want to do, I want to show you what this sandbox is all about. I'm going to let me open Outlook. I'm going to take this text, send that, and subject will be more than 6 bands, and the and I need an attachment. So let me take this save today, and let me send this to Microsoft 365 mailbox. Let's wait. Let's wait. Come on. Hello.
I guess if it never arrives, that's a good thing, right?
So what may happen? I already showed this demo, and let me just try to create a new hash. Maybe it will work. So maybe let's try again. I'm going to send it again. Hopefully it will arrive, and I will be able to show you what this service is all about. So fingers crossed. Yep, it is. And now it says ATP scan in progress. And now let's think about let's discuss one thing. So if my document gives me a shell when someone open and run macro, and Sandbox is trying to test and run every document, maybe, just maybe, I will be able to get the shell to the Sandbox. So fingers crossed, hopefully it will work. So sometimes I get a shell for a longer period. Sometimes I have this shell for a few seconds or only just a pin from this Sandbox. But let's wait. Let's wait. I just want to show you. I just want to prove what the Sandbox is will really run the document and will open this document, and what the Sandbox is all about. So let's wait. Looks like it will take a bit longer than I expected. Maybe that's a different port. That's odd. Oh, no, the right one. Look at this. So it's trying to connect to me from Microsoft Data Center. Please give me a shell. Please give me a shell. Yay, it gives me a shell. So let me go to the folder I want to show you. And so let me cd into here. Let's dr here. And look at this, there's set today here. All right, so let's also dr d drive. That's it. Oh, shell has died. Anyway, so now we can see that this Sandbox is nothing else than Windows 10 workstation. It's quite old build, by the way, of Windows 10 workstation, and this workstation will download the actual document from Outlook. So look at this. Look at this. It's Outlook cache. It's like someone opened this document right in Outlook, and look at this. That Save Today was an Outlook cache. So the Sandbox simulates user behavior, like user opened that in Outlook and tried to simulate the real user behavior. And so on this Sandbox has my file, and also on the D drive, there's a number of tools that will run somewhere in the background to analyze what this file will do. So this is called Defender for Office 365, and I guess you saw that before. I mean, Defender for Office 365, but maybe that's something. But we haven't seen this insights. This information, like what this Sandbox is all about, because quite often people don't understand that it's just a Windows 10. Because if I send something for Linux or Android, no, it will not be detect. It will not detect any Trojans because it tries to run all the files in the Windows 10 sandbox, not in Linux, not in Android. All right, and finally, so the last piece. I know I have six minutes. Maybe I can get some extra time to answer questions. I would say 6 minutes will be enough to show you detections, but maybe questions. So Defender for Endpoint. This is the actual. I would say that's this service that will be installed on the endpoint. Not just really installed at the endpoint, just like it's like the endpoint will be onboarded to this service. And this is EDR solution that will analyze events on the actual workstation and find out many attacks. Now, what I want to do, I want to switch to Defender for Endpoint and show you my alerts. I click alerts. I can click incidents, by the way, here. And now I can see multi-stage incident and chain event detection. So it detects that it not just one incident. It's like a kill chain. It was like a kill chain. So let me click on the first one. And I have 24 alerts under the same kill chain. And look at so what I don't really like. Sometimes it time is not really accurate, because in a demo we have so many things very quick. In the real environment, of course, attackers, they don't do that quick. They must be gentle because they don't want to be really detected. They don't want to be rough. But here, because I want to show you the demo as quick as possible, some events are done parallel. All right, so first, PowerShell made suspicious network connectivity, a reverse shell was established, Office runs suspicious commands, and suspicious PowerShell command line. So many things said that Excel established reverse shell. Of course, different perspectives of this, but it tells me that this reverse shell was established. Suspicious sequence of exploration activities. I guess that's all of those things together. Then suspicious system owner user discovery, possible attempt to discover groups and permissions. So that's when I run internal reconnaissance, like system info, who am I, and so on. After this, I try to find files in passwords and files in the registry. It detects registry, for some reason it's not files. Anyway, then I run Bloodhound. I dump LSAS. And so all of this was related to to memory dump from different perspectives, and you may find possible problems with this single event. And after this, I jump to alerts to another workstation, and here's the alerts from second workstation where I run Mimikatz. And the most important here, let me open Mimikatz. Attack alert with Mimikatz. Look, ugly dogs. I bypassed McAfee antivirus, but Defender detects that was Mimikatz and killed that, of course. One thing that was not detected is my previous escalation when I use also password from files were not detected. Previous escalation was not detected, but what I can do, I can create my custom rules, and also what I can do. I can go to MD Defender for Endpoint Center. I think this one is it's already here. I can do it from here, and go to recommendations, or even weaknesses, and I can find recommendations about this software. I'll look at this McAfee recommendation, Zoom, Wireshark. So for this software, I don't have recommendations yet. The reason is, let me show you the reason. The reason is it was installed. Let me show you when it was installed. In general, system info, system information. So this workstation was installed. Where the installation time? Oh, so no way. Oh, I'm sorry. This one. One second. So you will see that that was installed today. And so it needs more time to analyze software for vulnerabilities. But believe me, tomorrow, or maybe a few days after, it will tell me that Ubiquiti Unify Video is vulnerable. So please update this software to the newer version. So now we can see that all of those things help us to detect those naughty tricks. All right, so I'm going to wrap up my so here we're reaching to the end of the session. So goal here was to show you some noise and how products or a service will respond to those noises. But before I finish my session and ask you if you have any questions, let me just remove some of the extra things. I think it should be better. Moment. Yep. So if you like this session, maybe you do, who knows? If you like the session and you want to know something else a bit more, I also speak on conferences quite often, and so soon in August and September I will speak a lot on different conferences. So on DEF CON it will be my session, DEF CON Adversary Village, but DEF CON is not free, so not really expensive, but not free. Cloud Native, here is more for developers, but my session will be about containers and how to pen test containers. But I would say the most interesting conference, based on your interest, it will be Workplace Ninja from Switzerland. Maybe you know those guys. And so I will have two sessions there. First session will be about defense evasion, so it will be 45 minutes about antivirus evasion, uplooker bypass, and so on. So I will show you how to evade protection. And another session from on-prem to the cloud, that's how to compromise hybrid AD. Also in September, I will also talk about containers, and this session will be also repeated at HexCon. And you may find me on LinkedIn, because quite often I announce the things I'm going to talk about. Whew. All right, so finally, let me check if you have any questions. And if you have any questions, it's time to ask this question because it's time to finish our meeting in general. All right, let me scroll all the way up.
Yeah, there was quite a few that came in.
You should use the hash. Install keylogger. You could also use user credentials. Lazan, also also a nice tool. Could you come back to 4 hours demo? I guess. I would not. Message from Carl. You may need to resend your message about Defender. I can see.
Yeah, so Don was just asking if Defender for Endpoint, not Defender, sorry, was disabled when all these attacks were going on, and you were using McAfee, weren't you?
Yeah, Defender, normal Defender. I mean, Defender for Endpoint is enabled, but it's in detection mode only. I'm trying not to block my attacks, so it's detection mode, not prevention. But yeah, Defender antivirus on the workstation doesn't work here because there's a McAfee antivirus there. So Defender antivirus in the passive mode. But at the same time, on Workplace Ninja, I'm going to show how to evade Defender. Defender built-in. You can take some time to rewrite Mimikatz. Yes, that's what I did. I'm not really sure. I did not use this specific article, but yes, that's what I did. I not really rewrite Mimikatz, but I remove all of the traces, and I had to rewrite one module call because this call was blocked. Oh, this one. If I'm not mistaken, I understood that the blog post of Steve Sulfus, if you
he's
change
program
the
manager in
password.
Microsoft security and all this authentication stuff. So he's the one that codes the other side that you're attacking.
So for long-standing IDEs, you will use more modern hashes. For example, you don't have to have changed the domain admin password, but just you re-enter the same to activate the new hash, all domains, level, and previous quite. So yeah, so we have different and so we have NTFS hashes v2 that and it's not quite simple to pass the hash. It's not possible to pass the hash. Some other ways to do it, but not that simple. So let me just click here, and I think it's all about that. So yeah, they are talking about this. Yep. There are some other ways to achieve the same, because we can use other attacks like pass the ticket when we grab a ticket. But yeah, that it will fix one of the problems exactly. Now you're domain admin, you could use VSS admin to create a volume shadow copy. Yeah, so if I'm a domain admin, I can dump the NTDS database, or I can try to do what's called golden tickets, or a number of ways. I wonder if all of this got logged out, but would ATP block all permit gather more intelligence on the attack before it gets hot? It is. I just disable. I don't want to enable it because it will block. It will break all of my demos. But yeah, if you go to Defender for Endpoint configuration, what you can do, you may activate what's called block mode, EDR in block mode. And I will not be that lucky in this case, but of course I don't want to enable this because I don't want to. I don't want this guy to break my demo.
Yeah, one more question on this, Sergey, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't have EDR and ATP and all stuff, so just the basic package. So let's assume this is a user workstation, Windows 10 Pro or something like that, with just Defender enabled in default configuration. Would this block most of the attacks, like all the PowerShell remote sessions and all stuff? Because if it's not blocking, I would be very much irritated.
It is. So it depends who is your adversary. So when we are talking about, like some automated attacks, like when you don't have the person behind, it's just like, mass mailing with this some malware. Yeah, Defender will be very good here. But if someone who is like quite proficient with this hacking will be able to get access to your workstation, there is no antivirus, like any antivirus. You may call any name, Kaspersky, Bitdefender, F-Secure, whatever. So it's possible to evade any antivirus if someone has the goal like this. So I would say from automated attacks, you are protected quite well. From someone who is experienced and has access to your workstation, at least a remote access, maybe not physical access, because in physical access it's very simple to just destroy the antivirus at all. But even remote access, in this case, during my session in August, I will show you how to evade Defender antivirus and how it may be blocked, how it may not be blocked.
I'm asking because this is basically the main message of your demonstration was that nothing can kill Defender in action or something like that was the title, right? And I just wonder if you have this Excel file and the user is not educated or not not sensible enough and open this Excel file and open the macro, and I wonder if Defender and default configuration without ATP and ADR and all the stuff would actually notice that you have a shell to this machine, or if it's not noticing it at all because it's not EDR on stuff, so it's not monitoring network traffic.
The actual shell, no, but Defender has so many signatures. So very popular ways to establish the shell will be blocked by Defender. And to be fair, I must be very creative to find a way to, to do it from Excel macro in case of Defender antivirus. It's much more simple with binary, but you must deliver binary somehow, and the Excel is one of the ways to deliver. And Defender antivirus blocks so many these statements, these commands that you use to deliver payload from macro. So if you already have a shell, no, Defender may not block it, but the commands that you use to deliver the shell, that will be probably blocked. And yeah, Defender here is pretty good. So automatically deliver this shell to user, quite tricky with Defender. So why I'm saying all of this, because from quite often attackers, if they have only one shot, because here I can try something, doesn't work, and try something else, doesn't work. In the pen test, when you do pen test, we are legit and we can try different things. In reality, attackers, I haven't tried, but that's what. That's logically correct. So they have only one shot, and if they don't really know exactly what this workstation has, what protection this workstation has, then it may be blocked and they will not be able to repeat the attack. So Defender is pretty nice from those automated, but once again, I said that many times, it's possible to evade any antivirus if you know that this antivirus is presented, and you may just install the local copy and experiment and then repeat that on the victim machine. That's what we usually do when in a pen test.
Thank
you. So I mean, we are running over, and we do have the quiz just to go, and I don't want to lose people just before the quiz, because many of them enjoy that. But if there are any really burning questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, hopefully Sergey can take a look and answer them in text chat while we're running through this quiz.
So I can continue in the chat because I can see some commentaries, but you have your quizzes, so yeah, maybe you're starting to lose people, maybe you don't. Let me just handle all other questions in the chat, and I will just shut up. All right, so thank you very much for your participation. Now, was my pleasure to work with you. Once again, if you want, go ahead and join some other things here. I'm not really sure if PDF will be shared, but you may just take a screenshot and type all of this manually, or I can do something like this, copy and paste. Anyway, so thank you very much, and let me just shut up, and I will switch to chat and handle all of your questions there.
Thanks, Sergey. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. That was really good. I enjoyed that.
Thanks, Sergey.
Yeah. And so if you did miss any of that, this will be on the YouTube channel in a few hours, I think. Maybe a bit longer because of the processing time of a 3-hour video. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly share my screen and jump over. Okay. So we mentioned at the start that we've obviously rebranded to Cloud Management Community. Essentially, I wanted to very briefly tell you a bit more about that. Firstly, we have this Meetup page that we now have branded as CMC rather than CMUG. But we've also started up some other mediums for you to get involved if you're interested in doing that, because many people have different ways they like to get involved in community. So we have this Facebook group, so groups CloudMC. If you're interested in that, all the links will be in the chat later on and on the Meetup group. Similarly, we have Cloud Management Community YouTube channel. So this has been building up over a number of months now, but we have a ton of videos related to cloud management, mainly in tune, SCCM, security, that kind of thing. Ton of videos here. Please take a look, get involved. Respond to the comments if you like. And yeah, that's available there. And then also Twitter. You probably have seen the Twitter already, but Cloud Management Community, the updated Twitter handle there. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but as I say, we are branching out and doing more stuff with the community rather than just this one monthly session, and there's more details to come on what we're doing further down the line. Finally, I'm just going to start the quiz, but I want to do it without the screen share so you don't see the answers. One sec. So if you go to menti.com on your smartphone or web browser, menti.com, should be sharing in a second. And there's a code at the top there that you would need to type in. Oh. Very good. Right, fine. So we have a few people joining. Hopefully, there are 8 questions, and I didn't sneak any feedback questions in these ones, so we're not gonna waste any more of your time with feedback. But if there is any feedback, you know, you have a way to get in touch with us through the community groups that we've just shared. So we've got I've lost the count of people now, but 20 or so. Can leave it a few more seconds for my camera's melted. Yeah, thanks, Simon. It has actually. It's very, very hot. Okay, we've got 12. I'm going to give it 5 more seconds, and then if anyone is trying to get in and struggling, please let me know in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go ahead. We've lost one. Yeah, that is a bad sign. Okay, starting now. So fastest finger first as well. So prior to being named WVD, the service was known as RDMI. What does RDMI stand for? I won't read the answers because it'll take too long, but give it a go. Time running out. And it is the right-hand side, option 4, remote desktop modern infrastructure. Let's see how that went on the score. All got it right, around about the same time. Well done, Katie. Straight to the next question. Which of these is not supported as the host OS within Azure Virtual Desktop? Windows 7 Enterprise, Windows 8.1, and Windows Server 2012 R2. That was quick. Everyone's gone for Server 2012, and surprisingly, it is 8.1, actually. Hopefully Simon got that right. Losing my buttons, sorry. So, again, 4 got it right, and Katie's storming ahead. Right, next question. Which M365 license SKU gives rights to use Azure Virtual Desktop? Is it Windows 10 E3, Enterprise Ability and Security E3, or Office 365 E3? Yeah, so it was Windows 10 E3. And let's see how that's changed the leaderboard. Katie 3 for 3 now, that's pretty good. Okay, so next question, question 4. An Azure Virtual Desktop session host must be AD or hybrid AD joined, Azure AD joined, or managed by Intune. Very good. 9, we got that right, which is AD or hybrid AD. Katie again, getting it right. That's not one wrong yet. Everyone around about the same speed though, so that's quite good. Jumping forward nice and quick. Question 5. Sergey didn't cover this, but in M365 Defender, advanced hunting allows you to find your wallet, explore 30 days of raw data through your queries, or become a better marksman. Yeah. So it was explore 30 days of raw data. Very good. Everyone around about same speed there. Obviously, that was thrown in for fun. What was Defender for Endpoint called before it relaunched at Ignite 2020? Was it Microsoft Defender ATP or Windows Defender ATP? Now, this is tricky because it had the Microsoft Defender ATP name for only a year or so before it was renamed. So it started off as Windows Defender ATP and then went to Microsoft Defender ATP just before it headed over to Defender for Endpoint, I believe, from the Wikipedia. So that was tricky. Apologies. Very close at the top. Question 7. Which of these services are not included in M365 Defender? Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365, Cloud App Security, or Azure Defender? The right answer was Azure Defender. It's not included in Microsoft 365 Defender. The other 3 are. So let's see if that's changed the top. And it has. Chris M just jumping ahead there. Final question. What was the first step in Sergey's attack chain this evening? Gain persistence, compromise machines, or external recon? It was the only slide he had, so hopefully some of you may have seen it. External recon, of course, very good. Okay, hopefully I got that right. I wrote that while you were presenting there, Sergey. Let's see what it's done to the leaderboard. Oh, that's going to be close. And Katie has won, I think. Congratulations, Katie, well done. Yeah, that was Chris M second, and yeah, that was close. That was good. Thank you very much for all of your attention this evening, and thanks for joining in. Katie, you can get your details later on. I'll send you that that voucher. But thank you everyone for taking part, and thank you especially to Sergey and to Gerry for taking the time out of their day to give us those sessions.
Yeah, thanks everyone.